We've been told that success looks like achievement, like ticking boxes or arriving somewhere, but what if success isn't something you actually reach? What if it's something you become? And I think this is where that traditional model or idea of success is outdated. And the more we can wake up to this and looking at what it means for us, the better.
This is the Born to be Brilliant podcast, helping you harness the habits and unlock the tools to bring you more meaning, vibrance, and the personal power to help you shine like the diamond you are.
Hey everyone, so the future of success. Why should it change? Why is success different in the future? It's not. It is whatever we mean it to be, right? So it gets reframed, and I think that we potentially either wake up at some point to a realization that our own definition of success isn't what it once was, or we perhaps reach a season in our lives or of growth, and we question things. And so what we think is successful when we are 6 is different to our definition of success in our 20s. And that is still different to our definition of success in our 30s and our 40s and so on. So it's not like some magical thing will happen in the year 2035 and that's future success. It's about our definition and depth about what that means. So let's be, honest here. When you're a young adult and you're starting out, to have a car, be well paid for your job or your work, and be healthy, pretty good success, right? You would probably define that as brilliant, great, I'm successful. As you go through life, it looks different. And a lot of clients I work with are successful on paper. So they will have a business that is doing well financially. The turnover is there, the cash flow is there, they have the team, they have the infrastructure, they're generating great revenue. So they have a business that's successful. And they think or we often, society thinks that means you're successful, the human is successful. But so often that is actually the opposite of true. How many successful people on paper do you know who are probably the opposite of successful inside, deep inside? And this is why we hear stories. You can obviously find stories of this of wildly famous people, but I know this from my clients and people I'm surrounded by, where I know that all their followers and their audience think that they are just incredible on every level. But the conversations I have with them tells a different story. Now that's private and confidential, not for me to share, but I see the inside. And I've been that person myself. It's that thing where, yes, externally, your accolades, your achievements are totally and utterly genuinely great. And people should applaud that and be, proud of you, and you should be proud of yourself for those things too, 100%. But what if underneath that, it's cost things like your health? What if it's cost you relationships? What if it's cost you your integrity? And the one that people often are last to put their finger on is your purpose. Because that's something, and I've talked about this in other episodes, but that's something that also changes and shifts with our seasons in life. And we may have created success in a former purpose of ours. And if we continue to push to keep up with what we've created, it's like the whole sunk cost bias thing, where we're like, well, I've put this much in, I now have to stick around. But actually, why? Because if it's no longer aligned for you and no longer meets your values, which change, your purpose, which evolves, then maybe that isn't true success. It's a form of success to other people, but is it for you? Is it actually for you? So another thing that I see with high performing clients of mine is And you wouldn't think it, because you always think high performers have got all their shit together. And so often that's not the case. And, we will go through things in a messy way, but we just make stuff happen. But we see these things where the obvious or seemingly obvious basics, that the kind of basics that you kind of, you teach at the beginning of business or you learn early on in business, have begun to slip. If we take on too many things or try to wear all the hats, or, all the things we know intellectually that are not good for our productivity, our energy, our well-being, and even our output. We know intellectually, but we haven't embodied that. And so we still live with it as our reality. So I will have multi-6-figure clients and 7-figure clients whose basic productivity is not serving their well-being. And what happens? Overwhelm, stress, leading to poor sleep, higher anxiety, ultimately burnout. But that's a bit of a buzzword, and I don't want to use it as it sounds. But to be really, really clear, misery is what it leads to. And here's why: because the cha-ching in the bank isn't enough. And that will be because ultimately that's not what the sole purpose is of the thing that high performer is doing, right? That business owner, that entrepreneur, that ambitious individual, that's not the sole purpose. Now, it's part of the purpose, and it helps, and it certainly is important. Business isn't business without money. My teenage child reminded me of that the other day, that it's, money is absolutely integral to business. Otherwise, we're talking about something else, hobbies, charities, and other things, and those are all great too. But the cha-ching isn't enough, and it never will be enough. It's a buzz at the start, but it's a bit like refined sugar. You get the kick and then it wears off quite quickly. So in order to define success, first of all, for you as an individual, you need to know what your ideal picture of your ideal life looks like. What's it all about, and what's it all for? What is enough? The fisherman story. And for those of you that don't know, the very quick version of this is the fisherman who he would fish each day. He would catch enough fish, sell his fish, feed his family, and then he would enjoy his life, right? He'd go for walks, and he would, I think it was, go to the local bar in the town and play the guitar in the evenings, and literally loving his life, loads of time with his family, great. And along comes the business professional and says, well, this is amazing, you're doing great, why don't you scale this? Why don't you you can catch more fish? And he's like, okay, I've got enough, thanks, I'm good. But if you get more fish, then you could, he's like, why? Well, then because you can sell more fish. And why? But then, well, because then you can make more money. And anyway, he goes through this whole story of the next step and the next step and the next step of scaling this in a fleet of boats and big corporations. And you can move to the big city. And then the fisherman's like, and then what? And he's like, well, then you can retire and enjoy long walks with your family and a relaxing life and laughter and playing the guitar and the bar and in the village. And he's like, yeah, he's already there. So what is it all for? I think sometimes in our earlier years, we think it defines us. And I think it's because we are learning who we are. And so by what we do professionally and our outcomes and our results, our accolades and our accomplishments, we in some way define our worth, and we feel like we need that, right? And it's something we grip onto. But there comes a point where you go, why? And I would love to bring this question to you sooner rather than wait for it to come to you maybe in your 40s, maybe in your 50s, maybe never. But I would rather bring this question to the forefront earlier on so that you can course correct quicker, but also stay in check. because this might not be an issue for you right now, but it will be at some point. So if you're constantly going, okay, am I in alignment? Am I on point? Does this align with my vision of success? Then great. But if you regularly audit that, you'll stay on track. It will weave, it will evolve, and it will take on twists and turns, but you'll not get to that place where you're like, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? This will also resonate with people who aren't sure what their purpose is and go, well, I don't know, I just gotta do something, right? I've just got to keep going, or I'm doing this because I'm good at it. Just because you're good at it doesn't mean you need to do it. And your purpose isn't always connected to your work either. So just consider that for a minute, because if you are somebody who wants to earn enough money that covers your bills, puts something away for the future, allows you some fun experiences in life, and that you feel secure, if that's enough in terms of your money needs, I believe money buys freedom and choices. So what do freedom and choices look like for you? And what might they look like, the whole just in case level? And once you get that number of what is enough, then what needs to be in place for that to be sustained? And in terms of your work and life and well-being. And if that is through what you're currently doing, great, amazing. Whether you love it or you don't love it. So some people work a job that they don't love, but it's easy, it doesn't take up too much of their time, and they have a flipping brilliant life. And so they're like, it works. It funds my version of a successful life. So fabulous. That's great. It might be that it's a small pain for a bigger gain, right? On the flip side, and it might be that the purpose that person lives by is something that they do in a passion or a hobby or in some form of giving outside of their income generating work. And that's amazing. So then their work gets to fuel their purpose, their greater purpose, because maybe your purpose doesn't pay you. Who says it has to? No one ever said your purpose will pay you money. So consider that one. If you are lucky enough to feel like your purpose comes through your work, and a lot of times people will find that, even if your work is, I don't know, in a call center or in an admin role in a big corporation or whatever, it may be because your purpose is somewhere in the sort of supportive elements, or you're very customer service orientated, and so that works over there on the side as the thing that fuels your financial life, but that allows you to then go out, and all those qualities about your purpose being very customer focused and giving and supportive could be coming out in a different way in the rest of your life. So check in with your fulfillment. Now, I've got a model for this that really works, and it's my human optimization model, and I use 5 elements to measure success, measure fulfillment, measure our optimization levels, because you could be a solopreneur generating the high multi-six figures. Many people I know are in this bracket and will be listening to this podcast, and you may be in that bracket and thinking it's all good. And if we then look at these 5 elements, it would be great to measure each one and see, think of each one as a little cup, and you're going to fill them up. How full is each one? And are any of them, depleted, or worse still, have a hole in the bottom and a big leak coming out the bottom? Because your holistic and complete self-actualization and realization of your success will require all 5 elements to be thriving. That is where health and performance and vitality collide in just this beautiful spark, and that's where you're going to feel great. So the 5 elements of my human optimization model include your time, money, health, relationships, and happiness. And we want to make sure each one of those cups is full. That's where your vitality comes from. And so whatever your vision or version of success is, whatever, just total pure peace and happiness with what is, those 5 elements are going to be key for that to happen and for that to be sustainable. We've been told that success looks like achievement, like ticking boxes or arriving somewhere. But what if success isn't something you actually reach? What if it's something you become? And I think this is where that traditional model or idea of success is outdated. And the more we can wake up to this and looking at what it means for us, the better. And as we move forward into the future and the developments of technology that come around, I believe we'll see more opportunity to really delve into the human optimization and the human sense of success, because we won't be so concerned with the things that we'll have technology to replace and do for us. So if you've been feeling like you've been hitting achievement goals, on paper, you're one of these people that's like, yeah, look at my track record. Achievement is amazing. But it's without the fulfillment element, then something's off and something needs to change. And achievement without fulfillment is not actually success. The cultural conditioning of more is part of the problem. More money, more accolades, more productivity, more output. The consequence of that is a generation of high performers who look successful on paper but feel like there is that hole, like something is missing that we just can't put our minds on. So what does it mean in your world? It's not the opposite of ambition. It's just ambition evolved. It's grounded in well-being and in purpose and in truth. So paint a picture of what life looks like when we integrate mind, body, and soul. What is that for you? It's not one thing for all of humanity. It's so different and individual for every single person. When we are in alignment, for example, for people who are like, what is alignment? Like, alignment is when you feel in integrity with what you're doing, when it's in support of your health and well-being, when you feel empowered and enriched by the way you show up in this world. That's your alignment. Like, nothing's missing. You feel like you are on point with purpose. Then clarity and calm will enhance that performance. If we are all shaken up in the craziness and busyness of everything, we're not calm, we're not clear, everything's haphazard, and that just does not work for our brains. And this can be affected as well by hormones and hormone changes and by neurodiverse wirings of the brain. And there are all sorts of things that can affect this. But awareness is always the golden and first point of call. Other things we can do to then enhance that. So feeling that external success but internal unfulfillment or lack of fulfillment, I can think of times when I felt that way, and I want to reassure you that discomfort, that kind of ick, it usually comes right before a breakthrough. It usually comes and you feel really rubbish and you think, what's going on? Like, I was top of my game and I was here and this was great and I'm just feeling rubbish. And quite often that's because it's a sign. It's a sign that something has shifted and you are ready to grow into that next level. You're ready to evolve. You're ready to, it may be that, drop something or let go of something or reshape something. Ultimately, it's you becoming a newer level of yourself. It's like a computer game. The icky bit is like the big boss, and then you're going to go into that new level. So when you feel like that, I do this. Sometimes I'll be walking along and I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, oh, and I'll smile at that frustration and think, okay, I hear ya. Something's going to shift right now, because we don't change anything without discomfort, right? When did you ever go, well, everything's absolutely wonderful and perfect, so let's just mix it up a bit? Well, actually, I have a tendency to do that as well. But like, seriously, we don't usually, do we? We don't usually go and make a change from a place of elation. If you have got the health and physique that you absolutely want you're not going to go and do anything to drastically change that. You probably, to get there, put practices in that you're going to maintain, but you're not going to go, right, what can I do to change this? It's like a bad habit. If you've got a habit that you decide, I want to give this up, you put changes in to change it. So we don't really change stuff that's good if it's where we want it to be. So it's a lack of satisfaction. It's only in dissatisfaction that we make change. So when you feel that dissatisfaction, embrace it. Girl, okay, here it is. And just sit with it and just let it process. And I think getting space in those moments is the best. Like going for walks is amazing. I have sat at my desk and sat at my computer into the wee hours, so all hours of day and night, thinking I can somehow think it through, think it out, figure it out, intellectualize it out, like work it out in some way to go, yes, I got that stuck point, because I'm quite technical minded. But the truth is, the answer isn't there. It isn't in your computer. It isn't even probably in your conscious brain. It's somewhere in a depth that you can only reach when you step away from the computer, step away from the noise, embrace the quiet and the calm, because in that stillness, that's where the stuff that's deep within your intuition starts to just rise up and encompass you, and you'll get that clarity. I know you have had a moment of clarity in the shower. I know you have had a moment of clarity when driving, because in those things, when our hands are occupied, like we cannot grasp for a computer or a phone or a pen and paper. We cannot, and this is why when walking can help, although you can take things to make notes when you're walking, but you know what I mean. When you take that space and break away, you're often left with no choice, especially if you don't plug into some more media and consume, switch off the consumption, breathe and just be, and it comes through because it is already within you. It's not a secret. It's not, the answer isn't something that somebody else has got for you. I know, they'll tell me, the oracle that knows all. Nobody knows better than you. Some people are good at helping to get it out of you. Definitely, people can help draw it from you and ask you good questions and share great podcasts with you with helpful, suggestions to help you find that. But just follow your inner guide. You feel like you want to get in a particular room with some particular people, do it, because the answers are going to come not from the people, but from the experience, from the energy and the environment that you put yourself in. Sometimes that energy and that environment is pure nature and solace. Other times that environment is high energy and great vibration of other people who are, in that space with you. It's always about that. So consider where you put yourself and where you need to be. And also remember, letting go of things does not mean failure or defeat or quitting. Sometimes it's the right thing. Other times it's just run its course and, it's just its thing, or it just needs a new lease of life or fresh eyes or a different path or something like that. So it's not always the path you're on is so entirely wrong that you need to ditch it and go down a new one. It might be you just need to prune the shrubs on the path you're already on and just take stock and sort it out. So the future of success for you is holistic. And I know this because nothing else is sustainable. Because if we only fill up one or two of our cups, the others are going to drain us and burn us out, and we will crumble. We need all of them to hold us up. And if we neglect that, it will catch up with you sooner or later. So we really need to make sure that we are filling all our cups. And we will do that when we can tap into what it means to us. Then it is soul fueled rather than fad fueled. And then you won't find yourself flailing like a paper bag in the wind with the economy or the latest like technology or the latest trend of what anyone else is doing, or the thing that somebody said that you should do because they think you're good at it, you'll stick to what feels good and feels right and feels uniquely you and yours. So I really hope you want to keep listening to my podcast in the coming weeks. I'm going to unpack all of these different elements of the human optimization model and how you can fill those cups and sustain a future of wonderful success at a holistic mind, body and soul level for you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and remember, go out there and shine your light bright because you were born to be brilliant.